What's going on YouTube? It's your boy Price Man back in here reacting to another video, this time from Blood and Bronze. I've yet to watch this video, but I'm going to go and check it out now. I'm going to react to it in real time. So 3, 2, 1.
I remember it was a Friday night, maybe 1968. I was just a kid. My old man was asleep in his chair after a 50-hour week down at the plant, and I was sitting on the rug watching the late movie on a black and white Zenith TV. It was one of those old sci-fi pictures. A guy travels way into the future and finds this race of people. They were all blonde, all soft, and all they did all day was eat fruit, lay in the sun, and play. They didn't work. They didn't build anything. They didn't even know how to read a book or fix a wheel. They just lived in absolute mindless comfort. But then when the sirens rang out, these people would just blindly walk into these dark caves like sheep. And down in the dark, there were these ugly monsters running the machines, and those monsters were eating the soft people. I remember turning the TV off and thinking it was a pretty stupid monster movie. I'm 70 years old now. I live in a rusted-out RV parked next to a 2-room shack that's older than I am, and as I sit here on my wooden porch looking at the way the modern world operates, I realize something that makes my blood run cold. That wasn't a monster movie. It was a documentary. Look around you. Look at what they've done to us. And the most terrifying part is we let them do it. We thank them for it. They didn't conquer the American man with armies or guns or chains. Chains are expensive. Chains make people want to rebel. You put a man in chains and he will spend every waking hour thinking about how to break them and wrap them around your neck. So the system got smart. They didn't use chains. They just gave us recliners. They gave us air conditioning. They gave us food delivered to our door in 20 minutes with the push of a button on a piece of glass. They gave us endless entertainment streaming right into our eyes so we never have to be alone with our own thoughts. They built a cage out of pure unadulterated comfort. And
So I'm going to pause it right there. I want to hit on some of the points. First and foremost, he brought up 1968. That's the season the Jets won the Super Bowl. So always bring that up. Don't care. But also on a serious note, he brought up all the conveniences of modern life. People don't want to cook their own food. Hell, they don't want to go pick up their own food these days. Right? The only time I used DoorDash was when there was a party and didn't make any sense for me to go grab food. But other than that, either I'm cooking or I'm going to go get my own food. I'm not paying for that. I said what I said on that. But then also when they brought up the chains part, yeah, people would have rebelled if they were actually chains, but now we got cushy ACs, AC spaces and office spaces and stuff like that. And then recliners, and also the illusion of control, right? There are all these systems in place that make you comply, from the property tax people. And if you have a family, then, the Title 4D crime family, aka child support, which the primary beneficiary of that is the State Treasury Department. Then you got the property tax cats, the IRS, all these things to keep you in line, as well as all the advertisements to keep you in a consumerist mindset. You gotta have the latest this and that. And I'm guilty of that too. I have a newer phone, I have a newer car, yeah. But man, the only reason I have these newer things is because the used market's kind of trash for both items, But let's continue to see what else he has to say.
we walked right into it and closed the door ourselves. I want to talk to you today about the quiet enslavement of the modern man. I'm not a philosopher. I didn't go to college. I don't know the big academic words for what's happening to society.
And I want to pause too. Yes, I have college degrees. Woo, right? It's a piece of paper just to say I've done something. Yeah, I've learned some things, but I could have learned it various other ways. So with that said, I want to bring that up because just because he may not have a fancy education doesn't mean he's not intellectual in his own way. You don't have to go sit in a classroom to learn these things, to learn about life. Hell, I've learned a lot more outside of the classroom than inside the classroom about things. So I just want to put that out there for the people who probably may look down on him because he doesn't have a piece of paper. Look, I have a couple of pieces of paper, but still, intelligence comes in many shapes and forms, all right? So let's continue to see what he has to say.
I only know what I've seen with my own 2 eyes, working with my hands for half a century. And what I see is a generation of men who have traded their sovereignty for convenience. Let me tell you a story about a guy I used to know. Let's call him Tommy. Tommy and I worked in the same garage back in the 80s. We were mechanics. Our hands were always stained, our backs always ached, but we were strong. Tommy was the kind of guy who could lift an engine block with one other guy and not break a sweat.
Damn.
He was alive. When Tommy hit 65, he retired. He got his pension, sold his house, and bought a smaller place in one of those managed communities. The day he moved in, he went to a furniture store and bought the biggest, softest, most expensive leather recliner they had. It had cup holders. It had a motor that would lift his legs up for him. It had a built-in massager. Tommy told me, "Harold, I've worked hard my whole life. I've earned the right to sit down and do nothing." I went to visit Tommy about a year later. I walked into his living room and there he was, sunk deep into that leather recliner. The TV was blaring. The blinds were drawn. When he tried to get up to shake my hand, he couldn't do it on the first try. His legs shook. He had gained 30 pounds. His eyes, which used to be sharp as a tack, looked glazed over. Tommy didn't die of old age. He died 2 years after he bought that chair. His heart just gave out. But if you ask me, his heart didn't stop because of his diet. His heart stopped because it forgot what it was beating for.
So I'm gonna pause him here. A very similar story. I don't know this dude personally, but and I don't know how this guy's related to him. Basically, I was visiting some relative on my mom's side, right? Trinidadian cat, and visited one of his friends. Very similar situations. They had worked together for a long time, and when I met his friend, I'll never forget, the man, very similar look, glazed eyes. Didn't really seem like he had a purpose on. He was wearing a Redskins jacket. And this is recently, so the Redskins are no longer the Redskins, they're the Commanders, right? But he had a Redskins jacket on watching the game. But the man looked like he had nothing going on. It was actually a little sad. I was like, damn, bro. He's watching the game. Remember, I watch sports sometimes. Well, actually, I take that back. I haven't watched a full game in a long time. I only watch it when it's live. Like when I'm actually at the venue. Otherwise, I'll just check the score. I'm not doing that anymore. But point is, very similar concept. I know this dude worked basically his whole life, and then he looked kind of sad. I mean, I'm not trying to make fun of the dude, but it's like I haven't watched this dude's video yet. So I'm watching this in real time. For him to mention something like that, same concept with a nice, comfy recliner, watching the game in a Redskins jacket, but he looked empty, hollow. It's actually quite frightening. But let's continue with this guy's video.
That recliner wasn't a piece of furniture. It was a velvet-lined coffin, and he climbed into it while he was still breathing. We have been sold the greatest lie in the history of the world, the lie that comfort is the ultimate reward for a life well lived. The system tells you that if you work hard, if you pay your taxes, if you play by the rules, you will eventually reach a promised land where you don't have to struggle anymore. But here is the brutal truth that nobody wants to tell you. A man is designed for friction. A man is designed for resistance. Without a heavy load to pull, a man's muscles atrophy. And without a problem to solve, a man's soul turns to dust. Think about an old diesel engine. You let an old diesel sit in the garage for a year, safe from the weather, safe from the dirt. What happens? The seals dry out. The fuel turns to varnish. The piston seize up. When you finally try to start it, it tears itself apart. That engine wasn't built to be safe. It was built to run under pressure. You are the exact same way. I see guys my age and guys a lot younger bragging about how they hacked their lives to make everything easier. They have a smart thermostat that adjusts the temperature before they even feel a chill. They have a robot vacuum that cleans their floors. They pay a guy to mow their lawn, a guy to change their oil, and a guy to fix their sink. And they think they are kings because they don't have to do the dirty work. But who is really the king? The man sitting on the couch waiting for the repairman, or the repairman who holds the tools and the knowledge? When you outsource your sweat, you outsource your independence. You are paying a monthly subscription to be helpless. I'm 70 years old. I wake up in an RV. In the winter, the floor is freezing. I don't have central heating. I have a wood stove. If I want to be warm, I have to go outside in the dark and the cold and carry logs inside. I have to strike the match. I have to tend the flame. Some mornings my joints hurt so bad I have to sit on the edge of the bed for 5 minutes just to gather the strength to put my boots on. People ask me, Harold, why do you live like that? You could rent a nice warm apartment. You could be comfortable. But they don't understand. That cold floor, that heavy wood, that is my medicine. When that cold air hits my lungs, it tells me I'm alive. When my back aches from carrying the wood, it tells me I still have strength. And when that...
So I'm going to pause it right there. Man, it does definitely put some hair on your chest. So I've been homeless twice. The first time was not by choice. Ooh. So, but even though I wasn't comfortable, I was carrying a gym bag and I was sleeping at a baseball field. Then I made a connect at a university and they let me sleep in the study area for a little bit too. And then I was able to walk back and forth from the gym to shower and all that stuff. So I had a good plan. This is when way, way back in the day when I was much younger. And then the second time, it's more on purpose. This one was a shorter time frame. So this is when I left, not the current relationship, but the previous one. I said, I don't want to be here anymore. But similar situation, I had a Ford Fusion, right? And I would set it up to where I had these privacy shades, right? So you can see in. And then I folded down the back seat, like the trunk area. I didn't take out the back seat, but just the back part. Folded it down, put some padding, right? Where there's like the little gap. And then I added some pillows and stuff. And I had like a makeshift bed in the Fusion. So it was comfy. So, kind of be part of my body would be in the trunk, right? And I'd park in 6 spots. I knew where to park and all that. And then I had to get up, be cold sometimes. I had a little fan that had a USB device, charging device with it and everything, like a power bank, I should say. I'm trying to think of the terms in real time. So I had a power bank, little portable fan. So when it was hot, because I kind of run hot, so I need that fan. I was doing that, then going to the gym, doing my showers, and then having meals, have like a little cooler and stuff. So yeah, so I know what he's talking about, but not that I would exactly go back to that exact situation. Like, look, I'm past all that, but it does makes you feel alive in a messed up sort of way. You're like, yeah, you can do this. And you get that fire in your eyes, So he's not wrong with what he's saying, man. Just keep that in mind. You can't be too comfortable. You gotta have some sort of a purpose, something that keeps you going, There's a song by Atreyu, You Eclipsed by Me. Check that out, man. But let's continue with what he has to say.
That fire finally roars and the RV starts to warm up. The heat feels 100 times better than any automated thermostat because I earned it. I created it, the fire, and I have an understanding. Comfort is a drug. And just like any drug, the more you take, the higher your tolerance gets. Think about it. 50 years ago, if a man had a roof over his head and meat on the table, he considered himself blessed. Today, a guy will have a meltdown in the middle of a coffee shop because the Wi-Fi is too slow or because his heated car seats aren't warming up fast enough. The softer the environment gets, the weaker the man becomes. And the weaker the man becomes, the easier he is to control. Let's talk about the control, because that's the real reason they want you in the recliner. If you are a man who knows how to grow a garden, fix a truck, chop wood, and survive without the grid, you are a very dangerous man to the system. They can't threaten you with eviction if you own your dirt. They can't threaten you with starvation if you know how to hunt and harvest. They can't raise your prices if you don't buy their garbage. So what do? They make the alternative look so incredibly tempting. They offer you a world where you never have to be cold, you never have to be hungry, and you never have to be bored. But the price of admission is your autonomy. They want you hooked on their supply line. They want you living in a digital matrix where everything is a click away. Because the day you depend on a click for your survival is the day they put the collar around your neck. You don't feel the collar because it's padded with foam and it connects to Bluetooth, but it's there. And the leash is held by a corporation that views you as nothing more than a data point in a consumer profile. I'm an outcast because I refuse to wear the collar.
Pause it right there. So, as someone who's been through various roles, right? I never forget one company, again, years ago, right? was bought out by another company. Okay. I think about 2 years after they were purchased, right? They called me and a bunch of other people into the little auditorium that we had. It was, I think, at least 200 people in there. All right. And they said, you know what? Here's your severance package. Thank you for your service, but your services are no longer needed. And that was the end of that. Just keep that in mind. Now, don't get me wrong. I'm all about making money. And, if you have to get a career to do it, like doctor, lawyer, what have you, or even being a manager, doing all this stuff. But never forget, you just work as that. That's not who you are. All right? Because when you lose that, or if you can no longer do those things, then what are you? And I have other roles now. That's not what the point of this little nugget of wisdom here is. It's just basically, you just get yourself in a position where you can eventually say F you and do your own thing. Now, don't get me wrong, it would be nice to have the pension and all that stuff. Now, I do have some of those things. I'm not going to go into that. But my point I was making is, like, you can't rely on those things. I mean, do I have a full one? No. That's why you have to have your own investment. So if you're 1099, or if you're, what I would do, I tell this to anyone, if you have a 401k at your regular job, take advantage of that, to get the match. Usually most people give you 100% match at 3% and then 50% match up to 6%, right? Take advantage of that. But also look into other stuff like a Roth IRA, Roth IRA and stuff like that. Look into those things. And there's also stuff you can do if you're a 1099 employee. Look into those things, all right? Because you never know when your number's going to be called, all right? And there's other fields where there's too many people coming in, right? Like, there's so mmany lawyers out there. Some firms are going to have to start shuffling. Then also, doctors, they might start bringing in a lot of H1, H1N1, or it might be a different type of visa, but like a bunch of foreigners coming in here, all right? So keep that in mind. So always look out for you. And don't depend completely on the system. That's the best way to put it, all right? But let's continue.
I keep a physical paper trail. I keep receipts in a leather folder. I keep the titles to my vehicles locked in a fireproof safe under my bed. I deal in cash whenever I can. Mm-hmm. My kids tell me I'm living in the past. They tell
Oh yeah, cash is king. That's one of the, you do not want people knowing exactly what you hold. Hey, cash is king, okay? I mean, yes, have a bank account, but don't put all your money in there, all right? Always have emergency stashes, okay? Because you do not want people knowing what you're holding, all right? That's something that the powers that be want to know. They want to know everything about you, and then if they want to freeze your assets, what are you going to do? So fight back. Cashless society is not a good thing. Some people might look at me sideways saying, I'm just a conspiracy theorist, but here's a scenario. It's not a major one. You're traveling, right? You try to get gas somewhere. Try to use your card. Decline, because there's a fraud check, right? What if you can't get a hold of the bank and you really need that gas and you have nothing in your wallet? What are you going to do? So always carry some cash on you. But let's continue.
Tell me, Dad, just put it on the cloud. It's so much more convenient. Convenient for who? Convenient for the bank? Convenient for the algorithm that wants to track exactly what I'm doing, where I'm going, and what I'm thinking? Let me tell you about convenience. A snare trap is very convenient for the rabbit. He doesn't have to look hard for the carrot. It's right there, sitting in the open, just waiting for him. The rabbit thinks he's getting a free meal. The rabbit thinks he's hacked the system, right up until the wire snaps shut around his throat. Your smartphone, your digital banking, your smart home, it's the carrot. And the wire is getting tighter every single day. I saw a young guy the other day at the hardware store. He must have been 35. He was driving a $60,000 truck that didn't have a single scratch on the bed. He was trying to figure out how to strap a single piece of plywood to the roof, and he was completely lost. He didn't know how to tie a ratcheting knot. He ended up wrapping bungee cords around it like a spider web, looking terrified. I didn't laugh at him. I felt sorry for him. Here is a man in the prime of his life, surrounded by technology, driving a machine with 400 horsepower, and he doesn't possess the basic physical competence that a 12-year-old boy had in 1950.
So pause. I actually know how to use ratcheting tie downs, and maybe I should be thankful because during when I was learning how to use that, I was a teenager at my aunt's house, right? And she lived in a different state, and she had a house, blah blah blah, and then they had a truck. I'm not gonna say what model it was and all that, but you ever have to doing the tie downs, throwing it around, doing a little knot, the ratcheting and all this stuff? It's like, man, this is some nonsense. I don't want to do this, but kind of learned some things. It has helped me a few times later on in life, so it's good to have these skills. Not that I'm out here hauling stuff like that, but when the time comes, it's nice to be able to do that when you need to.
That is the quiet enslavement. It's the systematic removal of your competence. When you don't know how to do anything physical, you become a hostage to the people who do. You become afraid of the world. And a population of men who are afraid of the physical world will accept any rule, any law, and any restriction as long as it promises to keep them safe. They trade their freedom for an illusion of safety delivered straight to their recliner. I decided a long time ago that I would rather die on my feet swinging a hammer than fade away in a padded chair waiting for the nurse to bring me my pudding. I chose the hard way because the hard way is the only honest way left. You see, pain and discomfort are honest. They don't lie to you. When you hit your thumb with a hammer, the pain is a teacher. It tells you to pay attention. It tells you that actions have consequences. When you sit in the cold, it tells you that the world is indifferent to your existence, and if you want to survive, you have to build a fire. But comfort is a liar. It whispers in your ear that everything is fine. It tells you that you don't need to stay sharp, that you don't need to watch the perimeter, that you don't need to be strong. It lulls you into a deep, dreamless sleep, and while you are sleeping, the Morlocks are moving in. I think about that old sci-fi movie all the time now. The Eloi, the soft blonde people, they never saw the monsters coming because they never looked in the dark. They were too busy playing in the sun. They didn't know how to fight because they had never had to struggle for a single meal. Look at America today. Look at the people walking down the street staring into their screens, entirely disconnected from the earth under their boots. Look at the men who get out of breath walking up a flight of stairs, yet they spend hours online arguing about politics as if their opinion actually shapes the world. We are becoming the Eloi. And the machine underneath us is getting hungry.
And not just politics. A lot of people arguing about sports. It's like, come on, man. And I'm not going to lie, way back in the day, I used to be on forums. Do I do that now? Nope. I might do some trolling comments here and there on YouTube just to engage the algorithm. But take that same energy. I'll say this to anyone. Do something with your life. And I'm over here wearing a Syracuse hoodie. And yeah, I got a New York Rangers hat, but hey, it's more nostalgia. Don't focus so much on those things, all right? Don't fall into the Goyim trap, all right? But let's continue.
Hungrier. So what is the antidote? What is the cure for the quiet enslavement? It's not joining a political movement. Mm-hmm. It's not buying a different brand of products. The cure is radical, voluntary hardship. The cure is looking at your comfortable life and deciding to introduce some friction back into it. If you've been letting the recliner swallow you whole, it's time to stand up. I'm not telling you that you need to sell your house and move into an RV like an old fool named Harold. My path is my path, but I am telling you that you need to audit your comfort. You need to look at the areas of your life where you have outsourced your sovereignty, and you need to take one of them back. If you pay a man to change your oil, go to the store, buy a wrench, and do it yourself this weekend. It will take you 3 times as long. You will get grease on your hands. You will probably swear a few times. Do it anyway. If you spend 3 hours a night.
So I'm actually to push back on that. And I've changed oil before. At that point now, I'm taking that in. But other repairs I do myself. I just don't like transporting fluids. And I know it's sound a little hypocritical for me to say that, but man, And at that point, it's cheaper. It's basically the same price once you factor in that. But I've done my own tune-ups and a previous Fusion I had, not the last Fusion I had, but the previous one. I changed when I was changing the spark plugs, and there was some oil on top of the spark plugs. So that means that the valve cover gasket was leaking. So I changed the valve cover gasket as well, so I can do some things. And I'm always telling people that you should know how to do some things. Can I rebuild a full engine? No, I cannot. I've changed EGR valves. I've done the bolt-on exhaust system modifications. Done headers when it's bolt-on. I haven't welded or cut or anything like that. And so I've done tune-ups. What else? Change spark plugs, ignition coils. Sometimes the spark plug wires, depending on the vehicle. Some ones are coil unplugged, like the Fusion was coil unplugged, whereas the old Grand Prix I had was a 3.8. That was spark plug wires and all the whole nine. See, I'm trying to, what other repairs have I done? I've replaced a water pump, alternator, battery, done that. So you can do these simple repairs, but there are times where, for example, if you go to like Walmart, I believe, Walmart is free installation on the battery. So once you buy the battery, you might as well have them do it, So in that point, I'm going to push back a little. But if they were charging for the installation, I'll do that my damn self. So, but let's continue.
Sitting in the recliner, watching other people live their lives on television, unplug the damn thing. Mm-hmm. Go into your garage, find a piece of scrap wood, and build a birdhouse. Build a shelf. Build something. If you rely on your phone for every piece of information, buy a physical map. Buy a physical book. Leave the phone in a drawer for 24 hours and see how badly your brain craves the digital sugar. That craving, that panic you feel when the phone isn't in your pocket, that is the feeling of the leash. Acknowledge it and then starve it. We need men again. We don't need consumers. We don't...
I gotta find a good day to try that. No phone on me. No internet. Keep a journal, maybe read a book. I got a book I need to read. I'll do that. You know what? I'm gonna do that, and then I'm gonna do my own video on that to see how I felt and what I did in that time frame. I gotta pick a good day for that. But let's continue.
We don't need users. We need men who know how to stand in the storm and not look for a safe space. We need men who have calluses on their hands and calluses on their minds because the storm is coming. Anyone with half a brain and an eye on history knows that the current system is fragile. It's built on debt, on digital promises, and on the assumption that the trucks will always arrive on time. What happens when the trucks stop? What happens when the power grid goes down, not for an hour, but for a month? The men in the recliners will perish. They will sit in the dark, helpless, waiting for an authority figure to come and save them. And the authority figures will only save the ones who agree to wear the tightest collars. But the outcasts, the men who never lost their edge, we will just light our wood stoves. We will fetch our water. We will look at the dark and we will not be afraid because we have been practicing for the dark our entire lives. I'm 70 years old. My knees pop when I walk. My back is a mess of old injuries. By society's standards, I should be taking it easy, but I refuse to take it easy. I refuse to go quietly into the night wrapped in a heated blanket. I'm a patriarch of my own perimeter. I am the king of my 2 rooms and my metal trailer. And I am telling you from the bottom of my heart that the greatest joy a man can experience is the knowledge that he can stand entirely on his own. I want you to take a hard look at your living room tonight. Look at the chair you sit in. Is it a place to rest for a few hours after a hard day of real physical labor? Or has it become your entire world? Has it become the place where your ambition goes to die? If you feel the trap closing around you, if you feel the softness creeping into your bones and you hate it, I want you to signal the rest of us. Leave a comment below. Just type the word stand. That's all it takes. One word. It tells me that there is another man out there who is refusing the recliner. It tells me that the spirit of the old American pioneer isn't dead. It's just been sleeping and it's finally waking up. Share this with a buddy who you know is getting soft. Don't be polite about it. Sometimes a man needs a brother to kick the chair out from under him before he suffocates. Subscribe if you want to walk the hard road with me. We don't have air conditioning out here. We don't have algorithmic validation. We just have dirt, tools, and the unvarnished truth. I'm going to go split some wood now. It's supposed to drop below freezing tonight. I could just turn on the propane heater in the RV, but I won't. I'm going to swing the axe. I'm going to feel the shock in my shoulders. I'm going to remind myself that I am still a man, not a pet. Stay sharp. Stay dangerous. And for God's sake, get out of the damn chair. Nobody is coming to save you, and if they do, the price will be your freedom. Save yourself. I'm Harold. I'm 70, and I'm still awake. I'll see you out there in the cold. Goodbye for now.
Yeah.
I remember.
All right. So, I'm going to react to this now. Man, he said a lot there. So, I'm not going to lie. The only thing I can't really stand is the heat. I'm going to have to get used to that. But the cold, I can deal with the cold. 100%. No doubt. I can deal with the cold. Built for that. But the heat, that's something I got to get used to. I got to get used to that discomfort of the heat. But back to what he's saying. No one is coming to save you. That's 100% save yourself. And actually, I'm going to react to a song, Save Yourself by Stabbing Westward. Not on this video, of course, but on the next one. But I want to show this dude some love. It's Blood and Bronze, I believe. Yeah, Blood and Bronze. I like the video. People forget. People look at some older people like they're fools, but no, they've been through it. You can tell this man's been through it, and he still continue. He's not going out like a little bitch. So hats off to him for sure. Now, I will say this. I'm 40. He's 70. All right? So I'm halfway there to his age, basically. A little more than halfway. All right? A lot has changed. Okay? And we'll quote Rick Pitino. Larry Bird's not walking through that door. Kevin McHale's not walking through that door. And if they are, they're going to be old. So it's up to you. And I also want to give a shout out to Better Bachelor, a.k.a. The Joker. And that dude's pretty legit. He's doing a similar thing. He has a little compound out there that he built. I believe he's in Tennessee. I could be wrong on the state. If I'm wrong in the state, my bad. But he's in one of those states. And he's doing a similar thing. He's got his little compound there. And, I think it might be time to do that. Y'all see how there you go. I sound like a Texan. Y'all. Over. Anyway, getting late. But, you see how the economy's going. Stack your chips. Stand on your own. I'm going to type stand, too, in the comments for this guy. And also going back to Better Bachelor. He had a movie night watching Cool Hand Luke. If you haven't seen that movie, excellent movie of Paul Newman. Because what we have here is a failure to communicate. I didn't do that in the best impersonation, but I did a little silly voice for it. But back on this dude, gotta have that grit again. Not many people have that grit. Bunch of softies, and they're basically protected. They can't say, "Oh no." It doesn't mean you have to sit there and fight and try to pick a fight. I'm not saying that. But have grit. That's something that's lacking. Don't sit there and, fold under pressure. Don't like a cheap suit, all right? So that's it. I just want to show you to do some love. It came into my algorithm somehow. I'm glad it did. So show this dude some love. Blood and Bronze. Till next time, YouTube.